Seems that my experience there was less than it's all been.
Very personal.
It doesn't seem like that. I better get any further to consider this.
We have.
Oh, sure.
Well, I'll just like ask him, who's the guy?
Call the September 14th town council meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. First item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the August 24th common council meeting and the August 24th regular council meeting. Are there any corrections, changes, additions? No. If not, then I will approve those minutes as submitted. Next is the report of the town manager, Mr. Warner.
Thank you, Mayor Black, members of council. Several things just to bring your attention and to report on. To start with, we have provided notice to our staffing company that we intend to retain the temporary workers in our employment throughout the current fiscal year in an effort to complete the list of current projects approved by council. Typically, we employ them on a seasonal basis, mainly for grass cutting and things like that, but our intention is to continue that arrangement throughout the year. This means that the line items related to temporary staffing will likely exceed budgeted amounts, but we will monitor and report on that overall effect, and I will update you that on the first of next year, just so you know what that impact is. But this was based on a recommendation from the Streets Committee, based on their meeting on a Saturday about a month or so ago, and also based on the recommendation of staff. So just wanted to put that on the record, and we will keep you apprised of it as we move forward. Also wanted to let you know that due to other immediate priorities, Bedford County likely will not be participating with us in projects funded by the American Rescue Plan at this time. However, we intend to proceed in partnership with the Bedford Regional Water Authority anyway to complete eligible water and sewer projects within town. And at our next meeting, actually prior to that, Brian Key, the executive director, will join us to talk about clarifying the list of projects that you might be interested in pursuing, and ideally we may reach a consensus with which we can move forward. Centerfest returns this weekend, and we are looking forward to welcoming people back to what has traditionally been the largest outdoor festival in town. We will note that this is the first major event that has been undertaken since the effects of the pandemic, and ask that everyone afford some grace to both our staff and the Central Virginia Business Alliance and the vendors who are participating. Might be a little bumps in process, but again, we're looking forward to having the event once again. Also want to remind everyone that Boys with a Dream will be sponsoring a special processional and presentation at Centertown Plaza to honor our community healthcare workers. That will take place beginning at 4:00 p.m. on Saturday, September 25th. And finally, I want to make everyone aware that the Autobus is up and running on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and right now it's free. Anybody can catch a ride on the bus, and that is due to a grant obtained by the Bedford Community Health Foundation. That concludes my report, but I will be pleased to respond to any questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions for Bart? Couple things, Bart, just to clarify. You and I have talked about the ARPA funding a little bit. Mm-hmm. So are we going to try to have a work session before the meeting with Brian, or I guess maybe council should ask what you all think, or we're going to be here next Tuesday, right, at 3:30. Do we want to have any discussion amongst ourselves before we meet with Brian to talk about the water and sewer projects and kind of get some consensus amongst ourselves before
That's a good idea.
or do we need more information from Brian?
I'd like to see us just try to get a consensus, sort of kind of
so that we can relay that to Brian.
Mhm.
You know, when he comes on the 28th, whether it's either before that meeting in a work session or,
I mean, no more, what we talked about was pretty thorough the last time he was here. I think it wouldn't take us long.
You know, like I said, we can always use more information to make the best decision possible. One thing I want to go on record of saying is we definitely do need to address this problem, and one thing I do not want is for us to be another Flint.
so why don't we, you know, we're having this meeting on Tuesday at 3:30 for the conflict of interest training. Why would, if we need to advertise,
We can
why don't we
post
just-
that as a work session.
You know, after that, let's just maybe meet and talk for a little while, just to, if,
Make sure we're all on the same page.
kind of, yeah, make sure we got our ducks in a row before we kind of get with Brian and go from there. That way we're not, you know, that may move us further along than whether we're meeting with Brian and then we got to come back, still meet again to kind of, is that doable?
If that's the consensus of council, we would just remind you when you adjourn tonight's meeting to add that, if that's your,
Is everybody CJ or?
It does pain me to say that I ain't leaving in the morning for Myrtle Beach and we're going to be going on next week, so.
All right.
we can patch you in. We can come with you.
Darren, are you?
It's a calendar thing for me, but we got to do it, so I
Okay.
should be able to move some things around.
Be fine with me.
Steve?
I'm thinking 30 minutes is about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll make sure.
Before or after?
we'll do it afterwards. Do the conflict training first and then do it afterwards. All right? Okay, all right.
Great.
And then one other quick question, maybe on the, using the temporary, so, you know, we kind of, what do we need, do we need to do anything? Obviously, we're going to use those to kind of get some of those projects done. Do you need any action from council to kind of formalize what you?
I don't think so, because for one thing, we're going to monitor the impact, and it may be one of those situations where that increased expenditure is offset by savings elsewhere in the general fund. If we find that it triggers the need for a budget amendment, we will bring that back as a formal recommendation.
Okay, so that's the financial piece. What about the piece of, do we need to make any clarify anything on the projects that we want to kind of, or, you know, we talked about, the streets committee came up with a list. We had that list kind of from last October. So,
We can,
do you need anything on our part, or can you just give us an update on kind of what your plan is?
we'll give you an update on our plans to use that labor.
Okay,
And the other thing I'll tell you is, I've already advised Mr. Walhorn to direct the staffing people to let us have them, so.
okay, that's fine.
What I need you to tell me tonight is if you do not want to do that, we'll stop that order, but
I don't think that's it. No, I think we
Okay.
want it done.
we will handle the necessary ministerial actions associated with that accordingly. And we'll get you a plan for how we specifically intend to hit those.
Fair enough, fair enough, thanks. Any other comments, questions? Okay.
If I was going to be here, I'd certainly be here.
We, you know, there's this thing called Zoom and all kinds of good stuff. It's virtual, yeah.
King.
All right, next we have appearance before council. We got Thomas Epolato.
Yep.
Yes, come on up and give us your thoughts.
I'm going to be nice.
I live on Fuqua Mill Road, and ever since the park has been reopened down there, the traffic has gotten worse. There's no sidewalks for people to walk. It's not lit. There's a lot more people in the evening at night. There's a lot more colored people down there. There's no place to walk. They have to try to do something to alleviate that issue. I don't want to be the first person to hit somebody down there.
That is located outside of town limits.
Right, that works in the county, correct? Yes.
they can still put sidewalks to the town line. That's around the corner.
Correct, but the town doesn't have any jurisdiction there.
Why wouldn't you have jurisdiction in the town?
The area you're talking about, Fuqua Mill Road, is outside the town limits.
I'm talking about even up to the point. The town should be able to work with the county and get the rest of that done. You don't accept, you're saying that the park is part of town.
No, sir, the park is located in the county.
So shouldn't you be working with the county to get the rest of that done?
That's
That's
discretion
something
of the
we
council.
can certainly talk to our counterparts and,
Because the road from the town line shrinks.
right. So is there a sidewalk on Fuqua Mill? In the
I don't think
town?
there's anything.
Okay, fine.
And the road maintenance along either side of it, you've got grass and bushes on both sides, so nobody can walk on the sides.
Right. So, I mean, we can certainly speak to the, to our part in the town. We can certainly mention the concerns to our counterparts at the Board of Supervisors. I would certainly recommend that she attend a Board of Supervisors meeting as well, since they're ultimately responsible for the park. And that park is what's creating your concerns, with traffic and everything. So, I mean, I think that might help if they hear from you as well as us hearing from you.
All right. Well, number one, I never knew there was this many people in a town council.
Well, welcome. Come back and see us again.
My town's about a third this size. And I guess it would be you that does the grass cutting and stuff like that.
Certainly.
Okay, this may come off as rude, but you have people that cut up to sumac that don't cut it down. Whenever you come off the highway and people are coming into the town that's, it could be beautiful up there. It used to be landscaped. Now they're just trimming up to sumac instead of cutting it and making it look nice.
Which intersection, which,
Up there by Walmart.
the Walmart in town, okay.
Because I was told that it used to be all landscaped along there, and it's just overgrown. Well, now they cut grass just up to all the crap and just leave it grow. Trim it down and make it look nice. There.
All right. Thank you for bringing those issues to our attention.
Sir, can you spell your last name for me, please?
It's IPPO-LITO,
And the address?
1680 Fuqua Mill Road.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody, that was the only appearance before council? All right. Report of council committees, any committees, I don't think any committees have met since the last council meeting. Any revisions to the agenda? Nothing I know of, okay. All right, so the first item is on the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, council comments. CJ?
I'm good.
Darren? Stacy? Bruce?
Okay, well, a few things is this Thursday's going to be a rough day for me. It will be 1 year since my grandma passed away. I dedicated my last run to her. You know what? I could have given up, but you know what? She would not want me to have given up. And you know what? I love helping people out. I wish more people would be like Tommy and come speak to us, tell all of us what's going on. Thank you for coming to the meeting. And another thing I want to add is I talked to somebody from the county last night about the light poles, about at least getting one on the corner. And unfortunately, it's pretty much up to the private property owners to do that. So that's kind of where we're at, but I'm going to try and look into more things to try and help you and anyone else that comes to me to try and help them out. Thank you.
See?
No.
All right, just a few things, a couple events. Obviously, everybody knows about Centerfest. I know the police department, public works, electric department going to be putting in a long day, and a lot of hours, and we appreciate that. Also on Friday at 11 o'clock at Greenwood Cemetery, the American Legion is having a ceremony for Private Bobby Daniels, and just wanted to let everybody know, the council know, if anybody wanted to attend that ceremony. Also Saturday, I'll be attending and welcoming the USA Patriot softball team to town. They're going to be playing in their tournament up at the Moose Lodge. So, if you looking for something else to do Saturday, you want to come around and see that, it's pretty impressive what those guys can do.
What is that, a fast pitch?
No, I think it's slow pitch.
Okay,
Yeah.
should be pretty good.
Yeah, so I think they're all kind of disabled veterans, and they're taking on. Todd was too busy to put a team in, but I think the sheriff's department's got a team in, maybe the Forest Fire Department, and I think BWXT has got a team in. So
Good deal.
Todd just didn't want to beat those guys. And then the last thing, I signed a proclamation. Next week is, I won't read the proclamation, but next week is Constitution Week, celebrating the 234th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. So just everybody keep that in mind next week. And that's all the comments I've got.
We just continue with just long.
Like I said, that's all the comments I got. So the next thing is the consent agenda. Mr. Warner.
First item comes from the Liberty High School Student Council Association, and they are requesting the council authorize the closing of the following streets for the Liberty High School Homecoming Parade on October 14, 2021. The parade is scheduled for 6 o'clock p.m. The streets involved would be College Street, Peak Street, Bridge Street, and then a right turn onto Main Street. They will notify the fire department, police department, and Bedford County Fire and Rescue of the street closings. The residents of the affected streets will also be notified and will be provided ingress and egress to their homes. Tonight, you are requested to close the above streets for the homecoming parade on October 14th at 6 p.m.
I make a motion, we close the above streets for Liberty High School's homecoming parade on October 14th, 2021 at 6 p.m.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you, Councilman Vice Mayor Rush, for getting the...
Everybody gets the paperwork in like everybody's supposed to, we're happy.
Well, I'm convincing them to delay it until 6 o'clock. I think that might make it a little better for the businesses and people trying to leave work downtown. All right, roll call.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, Mr. Moore, next item.
Next item comes from Ms. Jennifer Overstreet, who owns Overstreet City Services. She is requesting to host a boxcar derby on October 1st, 2022, and close South Bridge Street from the Centertown Clock to the Bedford County School Board office for the event. She is requesting approval for a time frame between 11 a.m. to allow for setup time, race times to begin at 1 p.m. and run through 6 p.m., and then allow for breakdown and cleanup until 8 o'clock p.m. The Derby is advertised as a fun event where parents can work with their children to build a boxcar. Ms. Overstreet is planning to identify and give 90% of any proceeds towards a local charity. She will notify the fire department, police department, and Bedford County Fire and Rescue of the street closings. Also, residents of the affected streets will be notified and provided ingress and egress. We're particularly impressed by the fact that she submitted the paperwork a full year ahead of time, so that can expedite planning. Tonight, you are requested to approve the closing of South Bridge Street on October 1st, 2022, for a boxcar derby with the time as noted above.
I'll make a motion that we approve the closing of South Bridge Street on October the 1st, 2022 for the boxcar derby with time as noted above.
Second.
Any discussion? I got one quick question. Do you know if that's on a is that a Saturday, October 1st? It is a Saturday, okay.
You know, I was just curious, and I think this seems like a great thing. These are cars that you would build together and, okay. Yeah, okay. That's great. Good.
No motors.
Yes, no motors. Just gravity.
Got their ducks in a row.
That's interesting.
Will it come down from the school board or will it come down?
Come down from the streetlights, you know, at the top of that South Street there, and then go down using that area in front of the school board for slow down.
Okay.
Because there are no motors, so they'll roll up and then they'll roll back.
Okay.
It's good.
I'm looking forward to watching that.
Same here, yeah. Yeah.
Steve's gonna build a car.
That's a year away, and I don't know where I'll be again.
He gonna drive one.
Any other,
I might drive one, man.
any other questions, discussion?
This is for kids.
I do have a question.
Certainly.
I do anticipate like having straw bales at like safety cost.
No.
What's that for, you know, like what's,
We'll bring the sweeper up. It won't be as bad as the go-kart races we used to have.
Ooh, yeah.
it's probably a bit different.
We're interested.
You can't let them.
And may I ask a question?
Certainly.
It's not related to this, it's for Mr. Warren.
Sure,
You said that the Autobus was up and running?
yes.
Where are the stops?
They are noted by signs with the Autobus logo.
Do they have them up?
Yes, they are. I'll be happy to send you a copy of the route. Actually, we probably need to get a route posted on our website, too. Thank you for bringing that up.
So that would be awesome to know.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, so, we got a motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion? All right.
Oh, Mr. Black, there is one thing about the road closing that we didn't take into consideration until we talked to Mr. Foreman.
Mhm.
We'd also need to close right there at the corner of the light on Washington Street to keep traffic from cutting across the street.
That from Washington down to, was it Center?
And we would close just up to the park, the two parts right there near the parking lots.
So they could turn
So
around
they
the
can turn
parking
around,
lot.
yeah, so we won't have everybody jammed up at the intersection.
Yeah, but we certainly don't want them cutting across.
We can take care of that.
Okay,
I
all
put
right,
that on the application.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to have it
okay.
submitted the application.
Yeah, we'll work that all out, but that's your problem.
All right,
Roll call.
I think so.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson? Mr. Rush? Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
All right.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, on to, no old business, on to new business. New business, kind of old business, the phase 2 of the gateway sign installation. So Bart, if you want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to outline our specific points we wanted to make. Based on prior discussions and direction from council, staff has developed a proposal for Phase 2 of the Gateway signage program as follows. 1, the design, size, and appearance for these particular signs will be in accordance with the sample on display in the rear of the room tonight. 2, these signs will be posted at the secondary entrances to town along all routes designated as state routes, and specifically, we're talking about routes 122, 221, and 43 at the discretion of council. 3, it is not anticipated that any of the signs will be artificially illuminated. And 4, the building official has issued a current estimated cost for each sign at approximately $1,600. This does not include any additional expense related to brick bases and footings, which would be approximately $2,500 for each sign, or the cost of obtaining easements on private property where that may be necessary. Tonight, we are requesting that you authorize the installation of Phase 2 gateway signs at specific locations under these parameters recommended by staff.
All right, we want to just have discussion before we have a motion, or kind of talk it out and then see where we go from there. So, obviously the streets committee, CJ and Stacy and I met, back, I don't know, several months ago.
It's been a while.
They met with Sonia and Gary and DW and trying to figure out, you know, locations. We debated the signs on a post versus the brick monument signs. You know, I think, and I know I feel that if we can find a way to put them on a brick monument sign, that would look much nicer, kind of be consistent with what we have coming in on 460.
You know, the two that we currently have, I mean, I've heard numerous positive comments about those, how nice they look, how it does represent the town very well. And it adds a good upscale appearance and impression to the town. So I think what we're going with is a very good idea.
You know, obviously there's some locations that I think are compatible with putting up a brick monument sign. There's probably some locations that's not compatible with putting up a brick monument sign.
Not all of them.
So I don't know. I gave everybody a copy of the map.
So, we got six signs that we're looking at. So do we need all 6 signs, or do we need just one sign possible?
We've kicked this can down the road for 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. I prefer, if you can, to always kind of, let's get it done and move on to the next thing, but that's.
Okay, for me.
I have a question, well, I guess, borrowing Ms. Jamie's. What was the total budget we had for when we started this? Was it like 250,000?
I think that's correct.
How much do we have left?
The last time I checked, somewhere around 38,000.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that amount. I would be able to.
But just a guess.
I can email you specific.
Well, what I was talking about was a sign, we had a sign coming off 43 and Fallen Creek Road, if I'm correct. That's what I was talking about. I'm not saying that we should cut down all the signs. I said,
Okay.
you see what my point was.
Yeah, the map does show a sign on Fallen Creek Road.
That's not a primary road.
Yeah.
We've already done.
So is everybody kind of a consensus we should just not even have one there in that location?
I don't see the need for it.
We're welcoming visitors.
Right.
I mean, I would like to see us do five of the signs tonight. You know what I mean? Whatever you suggest would be the brick and whatever you need to be on the post, so.
Yeah, he does have Fallen Creek on there. So let's talk about the easy one first, probably coming in 43 from the peaks. I mean,
Y'all got a picture of what it's going to have to be.
it's going to have to be on a signpost
So it
there.
has a
There's
right
no-
of way there.
Right.
Plus, I can put my political signs up on
Let somebody donate some land.
Huh?
Let somebody donate some land.
I'm not in a donating mood tonight.
So is everybody kind of in consensus on that location?
That's fine.
We put up a, all right. So,
Now, I'll bring this up. And I mentioned it to DW, there's a guy getting ready, they just put a driveway
I
down.
saw that.
But I think they fixed it where it doesn't, you know. But there's a driveway going right behind that sign.
So, right. Yeah, right. So what, yeah, they're just going to have to leave him line of sight.
They'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Just need to bring it up.
Okay. All right, so the other end of 43, coming in from Holston. Calvary Church is one location there. I talked to Gary, he spoke to the landowner below Calvary Church, the Hodges, but that piece of land is up for sale right now. So I think that's kind of up in the air on that one, almost, unless anybody else, I mean, unless we just go with a sign post down there, I'm sure DW can figure out a way to get a sign down there. but the only way to get a brick monument sign would probably be on that corner of that tract of land that's up for sale, and that's where I'm at, that might be an issue.
And the biggest issue with the monument signs is those would have to be outside of the right of way.
Right.
Just keep that in mind.
Right, so you'd have to get an easement. And with it being up for sale, that's probably not gonna happen right now. So, any consensus on what we ought to do there?
I don't have a problem with post.
It post could work.
Right. So both ends of 43, we're gonna put the signs on the post. All right, so coming in from Forest, that's where we already got the
Civic signs.
civic signs. There's probably, do we own that land, or is that an easement? Does anybody know? It's an easement. So,
Gary indicated they could put one out. Do you know, is it, do we mow it? We mow it.
so Gary felt like there's enough room there next to the civic sign, you don't have to mess with the civic sign to put a monument sign.
I'm not speaking to civic signs.
But that, he thought that would be a good place for one of the brick monument signs. So, what does everybody think there?
That's pretty good.
Everybody
I
okay?
like the brick.
Okay, so, all right, we're getting along, we're moving along here. So, on the other end, it comes in, yeah, so 122 South coming in from the lake.
Number 8, can you tell me what number?
Number 8.
So coming in from Smith Mountain Lake, I talked to Gary there. He thinks he can get an easement on that tract of land right there. May require some give and take with the electric utility. Gary mentioned they may want to move some electric lines closer to the road that's in the middle of the field. So, but anyway, I mean,
That's our south side.
yeah, I mean, so, I don't know what that, but I want to put that out, that might be the negotiating strategy we have to do to get either a piece of land or an easement there. Just full disclosure here. I mean, I think that's obviously a very heavily traveled route in town.
Very, very busy, yes.
So, I mean, I think it needs a brick monument sign myself, but,
I'll say brick.
Yeah, I would say brick right there also.
so that, we know we got to work out an easement issue
Yeah.
there more than likely. All right. We're last one coming in from Big Island.
Yeah. He talked about that church.
Yeah, he says he thinks he can get a brick monument on that bank. I don't know how in the world he's thinking that, I mean, he didn't go into a lot of detail there.
Talking number 3.
Coming in from Liberty High School on the right side, where the church is, that church, and right before you get to that church, that bank right in there.
Not a lot of room there, but
The Toms is living down there too, I don't know, because that's the thing.
Yeah, but Gary thought we could get a brick monument sign in there if we wanted one. I don't know. I mean,
We think it'd be easier to get a pole sign, but we'll defer to your judgment.
yeah, I mean, it would certainly be,
Well, I think we'll hope for the brick, but if you can't, you have to do the pole.
right, yeah. But, I mean, we're going to the high end of what we're thinking we're gonna have to kind of, so
let's shoot for that, and then if not,
then we always know we can back down to the sign if we can't work out. So really, we're talking about how many brick monuments? 3 or 4?
2, 1 with an asterisk if we can do it,
Right.
and then 2 pole signs.
So you're looking at 3 brick and 2 posts, so you're looking roughly 17,000, not counting any easements. Just say 20,000, not counting maybe
So we should be close to
It'll be tight, but possibly we can do it within the existing budget.
Well, I mean, you gotta do the brick, you gotta do the brick, you gotta do the footers, you gotta do the foundation, and the sign, and the plywood.
We know what that costs.
As,
Just the easement. Price of this property.
Yeah.
You want landscape around the flower? Didn't y'all plan around all the others? Unfortunately, yes. They're nice, but that's maintenance.
That's maintenance, and these are, what are these, about 3 foot wide base, I think, is 3 or 4 foot wide base? So we're not talking something, I don't know if you have to have landscaping.
I would
I would say leave.
I would say not do it, but hey,
If garden clubs want to come along. No, we don't need to. I mean, I'm okay with no landscaping. Yeah, I agree. We don't need to create.
Let's keep it simple.
Keep it simple, but nice and classy looking is what we're trying to do.
That's the sign in the back, correct, VW?
And it'll be on a metal reflective, so that you'll be able to see it at night without artificial lighting.
When the headlights hit.
No headlights, yeah. Any other decisions?
It's all of them,
All right, so,
I like it.
very good. We need, now somebody needs to put a motion together with all that.
I make a motion that we, oh, Lord have mercy. You got it in there.
Yeah, I would reference the map entitled Town of Bedford Gateway Sign Locations to begin
Yeah.
with.
Let's do that. And we talked about 2 on post and 3 on brick monuments.
And for the record, Mr. Rush, I think, number 8 would be a monument sign, number 7 would be a pole sign, number 4 would be a monument sign, number 3 would be a monument sign, if possible, and number 2 would be a pole sign.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's what you meant.
That's what I want.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, next item on new business is the memorial to Ed Winterstrom at Liberty Lake Park.
Mayor Bryan, members of council, the Bedford Rotary Club has submitted a request to honor the memory of Mr. Ed Winterstrom by naming the press box at the main baseball and athletic field at Liberty Lake Park for him. Mr. Winterstrom passed away several months ago. And according to the club, the press box was built with a grant from Rotary International, and Ed was the individual who designed it, secured the materials, organized the workforce, and was the lead carpenter for the project. Tonight, Town Council is requested to designate the press box at the main baseball and athletic field at Liberty Lake Park to honor the memory of Ed Winterstrom, and Mr. Randy Patterson is here to speak further to the subject.
Yeah, we, Bedford Rotary, incidentally, I'm Randy Patterson, and I'm here on behalf of Bedford Rotary. I have a committee. I was head of a committee to honor Ed Winterstrom, and this is what we'd like. Ed not only did this project in the community, but I mean, he did many projects in the community, got little free libraries and stuff. So this is why we would like to show our appreciation for his loyalty and faithful service to the Rotary Club for over 20-some years. And if you see the blue sign on the photograph that I gave you, that says the Centennial Rotary International Project 1905 to 2005. We would like to take that down. It's getting faded anyhow, and make a larger one and put it at the top. Honor Ed Winterstrom from 1936 to 2021. Ed was true to the motto of Rotary, service above self, and that's That's what the sign would say. And we would like to have your permission to do that. Since it's on y'all's property, but we built it and we maintain it. In fact, we're scheduled to have repainting and some maintenance work done on it this Rotary year.
That was good. I was going to say, good paint.
Any questions for Mr. Patterson?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
We need a motion.
Yes, we need
I
one.
think, I'll let Bruce go first.
I move that we have a dedication of the press box at the baseball field to the memorial of David Winstrom, as stated by Mr. Patterson.
Second.
Any other further discussion? I mean, I'll just echo, I knew Mr. Lindstrom, and when he got behind a project, it got done.
Yes, it did.
And we appreciate his service to the community over the years. And the Rotary clubs for all you've done in our community. All right, any other comments? If not, we'll roll call.
Mr. Rush?
Aye.
Mr. Schoen?
Aye.
Mr. Stanley?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Hartwick?
Aye.
Mr. Johansson?
Aye.
Mayor Black?
Aye.
Motion carries with 7 ayes.
All right, so we're going to adjourn the meeting until September 21st at 3:30 for our conflict of interest training, and also to discuss some of the ARPA funding. All right, see y'all on